Oh, 494K watching.
Referendum on Trump.
This debate between two presidential candidates has less YouTube viewers than Roaring Kitty. Pumping GME stock. 3, 2, 1, GLHF! The two old men fight it out for our amusement and our future. I kind of like this.
Now,
no notes.
The 46th
No discussion. No.
Joe Biden.
It's freestyle? They're freestyling? All right, Joey B. Drop a freestyle. He's built like a turtle, bro.
What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
You got to take a look at what I was left when I became president.
Oh, no.
We had an economy that was in free fall.
What's with your voice?
The pandemic was so badly handled.
Bro, what happened to his voice? Give him a lozenge. Cough.
We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over.
Take a breath.
Combination.
Thank you,
Just
President Trump.
Simple, clear, one sentence.
Economy in the history of our country.
God.
We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID.
No.
And when we did, we
no.
spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929.
We're cooked.
No wars.
He's going to win this election.
Many other things. Everything was rocking good.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world.
Dude, cough!
No one thinks that, I think.
Cough!
Nobody else thinks he's the greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that...
Big, deep cough.
He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term.
Bro, everything he's saying is true, but he's saying it's...
That lost more jobs than he had.
Biden would be doing good if this debate was over text.
The idea that he did something that was significant.
If this was over text, he's making some points, but we can't ignore the fact that his American flag pin is smaller and he's mumbling.
You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump,
He's a good
over
debater,
the
I'll give
last
him that.
8 years,
This is like I drew you as the soy Wojak. The debate's over.
$4.3 trillion. Why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about
the tax cuts to the wealthy did not spur the great economy.
Spurred. Now, going like never before. And we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID.
We were just about to. We were just about to pay off the debt. We were just about to. We didn't do it, but we were just about to.
And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration.
They're just jumping around now.
President Biden,
bro, they're both. We're like 5 minutes in, and both of them are just jumping around topics.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period.
Oh my God! Cough!
We have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they've raised $500 million.
It's actually a little depressing. It's a little depressing.
In a 10-year period.
Because I'm watching in real time someone try to say something somewhat factual and
child care,
have no ability to deliver.
Eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
What?
Social Security, they're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These
Trump's going to be in his bag for an hour.
They're trying to put them on Social Security.
My stuff's the greatest. Your stuff's the worst. He's going to destroy America.
Medicare. So I'm
going to fix it all. No one's going to get challenged.
What's happened
Biden has no. Oh, bro.
In the last 4 years.
This is actually going to be a tough debate to watch.
As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world,
women in states that want to get abortions and can't. That's not
wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states.
Joe Biden, say something.
If you look at Ohio, it was a decision.
Joe Biden doesn't know where he is.
Result. It was a little bit.
He doesn't know where he is. Say something.
I would say the same thing.
Look, incredulous. Lock in, bro.
Right now. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth. If you look at the former governor of Virginia,
after birth?
He was willing to do this, and we'll determine what we do with the baby.
No.
We'll kill the baby.
No one is talking about aborting after birth babies.
The country is
Joe
now
Biden
coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. Consider the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country. And they are raping and killing women.
God.
And it's a terrible thing.
Oh, my God. We are in a fucking cooked society, bro.
Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
He looks so fucking confused at all times.
He had 3 trimesters. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run. Virginia,
this is the best representative
down, then we decide
that
what
we can get
so
to defend Roe v. Wade.
We say,
law of the land for decades.
Nobody wants
this is the best representative we can have for women's bodily autonomy.
Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period, period.
Okay, better.
What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban
Say this
on
with
abortion,
force!
period,
God damn it.
across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very
Is the Viance kicking in?
Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security.
That was
President
better.
Biden.
When he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law.
Do you remember Obama's anger translator sketch from Key and Peele?
You're in a situation
I wish I could do that for Biden. I wish he could tell me what he wants to say, and I could just fucking say it like a normal human being, forcefully, clearly, loudly into camera, without squinting or falling asleep. I swear to God, it's frustrating me.
Do with more border patrol and more.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all you had to do was leave it.
The Trump formula is so simple.
He decided
you just say everything was perfect.
Open up our
I was great. I was flawless.
The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world.
The 2 greatest
terrorists. Had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with a bad water.
As far as terrorists goes, they're the
hundreds
goats.
Of thousands of people dying, and also killing our citizens when they come in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. We have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq. Living one next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma.
I wouldn't bring up your son.
I was recently in. And he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
No, I know you have to understand, but that's the counter, right?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers story. He should apologize to me right now.
Four-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one.
Okay.
And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history.
All right, thank you so much.
That was a good response.
The topic of foreign
if his
policy.
voice was better, that would have been a great response.
Russia's war.
The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas.
Would not have attacked on October 7th because they were afraid of Donald Trump
at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas
and then Trump is going to say this never would have happened under me? And neither of them are going to answer the question.
Everyone, straight through the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu has endorsed the plan I put forward. Endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage
he loves numbers and stages. He loves lists.
Hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so that's there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to continue. We continue to send our experts.
Millions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us.
Of NATO did not say Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen getting us to pay more money.
Over $100 billion.
That's crazy. That is just a complete fabrication.
Because of location, because we have an ocean in between. But he said the only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
Oh, kind of what I mentioned earlier, by the way. Kind of what I mentioned earlier.
Guy who wants
Interesting.
To get out of NATO. You're gonna
millions and billions.
January 6, 2021, after you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to
January
stop the
6th
constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world.
We obviously weren't, right?
And then he comes in.
Obviously, the rest of the world's not looking at our fucking Capitol building on fire and being like, yeah, I respect the hell out of it.
The United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever.
Bro, he's LeBroning right now.
And she now admits
he's LeBroning.
She turned it down.
I had a feeling.
The same day she was.
I had a feeling. I didn't have anything to do with it, but I had a feeling.
President Biden?
Look.
Speak up! I'm freaking out!
Number one.
Speak up!
I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours. 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out.
He's significantly less energetic.
Such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden.
Than his last debate.
And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on
We're going to bring that up.
Stop.
Biden loves rapists and he should be in jail. And then he says you're a felon and he goes, well, we're going there? Oh, we're going there? Oh, I see. We're crossing lines now.
He said, no, I'll tell them.
This is classy.
That's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. Damn. I did nothing wrong.
These guys are
Thank you,
both
President
rambling.
Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming
Bro,
right
these
to you,
guys
sir.
are actually both rambling.
Well, you want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
It's really hitting me how old both of these guys are. This is crazy.
Relative to how many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You're more than an alley cat.
I didn't have sex with a porn star. Number one. Number two, that was a case
Drake,
that was
Heart Part 7.
And moved. They moved.
Heart Part 7, bro. I'm way too famous to have had sex with a porn star.
Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him.
That's a good point.
So why?
That's a great point.
Why? They know him well.
Hammer that home. Why does everybody that ever works with Trump end up hating him?
President Biden, we're going to be right back.
Talk about that more. Why does everybody that ever works with him end up hating him? Say it with force, dude. Okay, commercial break. Okay, this is Biden's real chance. Someone that his team has to tell him to lock in. They have to slap his back hard as fuck. Big drink of water. Big cough drop. Come out fucking swinging, short, clear sentences. It's smelling salts. I don't care what you have to inject into his ass. It is the only fucking hope.
What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. The wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. The impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action
He's really hitting the border
to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using.
Bro, I can't have him do this every single time.
All forms, everything, and yet during
we
my
had
4
H2O.
years,
it was
I had
perfect.
The best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been.
They told you before you got on stage that you had the best environment ever?
I've agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
so every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many,
you can't say
Americans,
"and by the way" and
Social
fade out. No matter what, you
lifeline.
have to finish.
President Biden, if nothing
You
is
have
done
to finish,
Social
bro.
Security, seniors will see their benefits cut.
And we mentioned the laptop.
Bro.
We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens.
I'm in a time loop hearing the same thing over and over from both people.
Our veterans is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street.
And then Joe Biden's taking a nap.
People are living in luxury hotels.
But the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for two children is more than their rent.
Every problem that we complain about, we should subsidize it.
Child care more affordable.
We should give people some kind of money for it, and then the prices won't go up.
Got fired because he was no good. Every military man that was involved with that Afghan the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Did you fire anybody?
The Afghanistan moment is the most embarrassing thing in the history of the country.
For allowing 18 million people, many from prisons.
The question was about child care.
Joe, our country is.
The question was about child care. What would you do to make child care more affordable?
He is the worst president.
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world.
Okay.
No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online.
Okay.
159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue
that was the best 5 sentences he's done so far. That's the best he's done so far.
Anything to deal with
and strong
child care. He did for virtually nothing in child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us.
No, dude, come on!
You have to raise your taxes by 4 times.
But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year.
This is true. This is true. A 10% tariff on all goods is insane.
And all the things that we're importing.
Not only will it get retaliated against and hurt our economy, it would raise prices on everything. It is insane economic policy. It is lunacy in 2024 to say we're going to abolish income tax and raise tariffs 10%. Speak on that more. It is lunacy.
Over the next 10 years.
The opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling?
The question was about opiates.
Jake was doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along.
We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done.
Norway.
We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps.
But you know what? USA, baby. USA. USA. USA.
Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. And, you know,
I can play in the NBA.
Wood, wherever we may have wood. That I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf game. He can't hit a ball 50 yards.
Bro's hit him on golf.
I feel that
Bro's a notorious golf cheat, by the way. Notorious.
30 years ago, actually.
And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
They're finally firing up, and it's about golf.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
President Trump,
bro, they're getting into it about golf, bro. Just 2 old men debating golf. That's our presidential election. Oh shit!
Legal challenges.
Oh shit! USA, baby.
the results of this
fucking
election,
George W. back in here. Watch this drive, baby.
To do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Now watch this drive.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. You're not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started, ever, with me.
Okay, please answer the question,
and he's going to take Ukraine if I were president.
The question was, will
that
you
part's
accept
crazy.
The results of the election, regardless of who wins, yes or no, please?
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week.
You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local.
Lock in.
None.
Lock in.
You continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost.
Lock in, bro. Lock in.
We'll be right back.
Smoke that pack, G.
Presidential debate.
Kanye on a rap interview podcast before he went fucking crazy. He used to freestyle rap battle like at school and stuff. And he remembered that one day he was rap battling a guy and he tried to do all these clever lines. Like he was doing like subtle references and flipping shit and doing that. And then the guy come up and said, "My name's Rick and you smell like shit." And then everyone in the crowd went, "Ooh," and he got cooked. And he said from then on, he realized he had to make his songs more like understandable to the average person. I thought that was funny, and it feels so relevant here because in a debate like this where you only have a short period of time, you just can't start going 1, 2, 3 whispering and like trying to name endless strings and numbers that people can't contextualize. I don't think this is a skill that makes you a great president, but it's the skill that makes you a good debater. And if you're going to sign up for a debate, you got to learn it. It's not impossible to learn. But either way, man, they're both coming off old in different ways. Actually, I have 2 grandpas, and one of them is Republican and one of them is Democrat. And honestly, they track. The Democratic one is on a inhaler, or no, one of those tanks. And he's very quiet, and he rambles a lot about Duke basketball. And then I have one grandpa who's Republican, who is, boisterous and rants a lot. He just rants a fucking lot.
We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience, or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need.
When he gets lost in the weeds on policy and he's trying to remember specific facts, it's a disaster.
Over 10 years.
The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get, when you're terminally ill, Now you can go.
Did
and
neither
you
of
can
them
get
just prepare a solid closing speech? They're both
it for
off the
42
cuff?
years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
That was crazy. That was crazy. I got to be honest with you. I think Joe might be a little cooked, which is overall unfortunate.